wandering into the woods and spending the night there. But what happens when the supernatural elements decide to show them why that's not a great idea? From Sasquatch stalking campers to ghosts following people, here are 30 times campers captured what no one was supposed to see. Campers head out into the wilderness expecting to witness supernatural events at night, but sometimes real life is much scarier than any haunted story, and that's precisely what these folks found out. Imagine hearing strange noises at night and peeking outside your tent only to be greeted by multiple lions circling your camp. And to make matters worse, these beasts looked hungry and ready to pounce on the campers. They had nowhere to hide because their tents were see-through. And now that the lion had spotted them, these campers were in big trouble. They only hoped the beast wouldn't rip through the fabric and attack. Spending the night in a forest known for satanic cult activity is not for the faint of heart. Yet, in 2024, these content creators decided to brave through it, and to no one's surprise, they did not have a good time.
Yeah, they saw something.
No, I heard something.
Being alone in the dark is all fun and games until something starts stalking you. And that's precisely what happened to these folks, but they weren't gonna run off. They were gonna follow the noise and get to the bottom of this mystery.
Name.
I'm gonna turn this off first.
However, the question was, were they being stalked by something or were their minds playing tricks on them? After all, weird stuff happens when you try to make sense of things in pitch darkness.
I was back there.
Did you?
Yeah, like you were
With
mentioning,
your
that's
own
what
eyes?
scared me. Yeah, with my own eyes, but I'm not picking it up on the camera for some
That's
reason.
weird. For some reason, I kept seeing like a figure, but it was...
In 2023, a group of campers spent the night in the Black Forest, notorious for its haunted activity. But while most of their night was uneventful with run-of-the-mill scares, their sleep was interrupted by something they never saw coming. They were camping deep in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, yet it sounded like a car was whizzing by their tent on a highway. This didn't make sense. Now they were all on edge.
Is that someone's dog?
That wasn't the only thing though. They felt someone tugging at their tent, but it wasn't the wind. No, this thing was much more substantial, and these folks were in trouble. They had to get out before the situation got worse.
What was that fucking noise? Calm down.
The following footage comes from the Blair Witch Project, which may not be accurate, but it was the birthplace of people wandering into forests and filming some of the most terrifying things ever. The campers were backed into a corner, hearing strange noises outside their tent. To make matters worse, whatever this creature was, it was getting closer to the fast, and it was only a matter of time before it made contact.
Go!
With the creature approaching, they had only two choices: stay put and pray for mercy, or run for it and save their lives. Of course, they chose the latter, but was it correct? They were about to find out.
My boots aren't laced. Oh my god, what the f is that? What the f is that?
In March 2024, a man went for a hike in Central Virginia when he felt a strange energy around him. But it was only when he looked around that he realized someone wasn't watching him. He was stalked by something much worse.
Where did they go? Guys, I might have already passed it. God, there it is. There it is.
A shadowy figure stared back at him through the trees, but here's the kicker. It was much bigger than a person, and the way it stood was also bizarre. At this point, the man was confident he'd just spotted the legendary Bigfoot.
See it? Where'd it go?
The strange thing was that the Bigfoot stopped when the man did, almost as if it was still trying to hide itself, but it was too little too late. The man knew he had to get out of there ASAP.
It's right there in the center. See that? It stopped. It waited for me there.
The haunted Japanese forest gained notoriety a few years ago after a content creator's controversial video in it. But while that should have served as a lesson for everyone else, it only encouraged more people to check it out like these folks.
Doing it, bro. What the freak? Lawan mo, bro. Yo.
Sa mga oras na to, mukhang hangin nga lang. Pero mayaman.
They decided walking in and spending the night there would be a good idea. But while they thought they'd see some disturbing things, never in their wildest dreams were they expecting to encounter a ghost.
Huwag mo na pansinin yan, pre. Huwag mo na papansinin yan. Basta, yun. Ayan na naman, pre. Yo. I mean,
There was no wind in the thick forest, yet the ribbon they'd tied between the trees swung wildly. Was it a ghost trying to communicate with them, or a draft entering the forest?
dapat ito rin. It could be because yung wind is somewhere, dyan yung draft niya eh. Could be. Yo.
In 2016, a man went hiking in the woods near Suffolk County when he discovered the creepiest thing he'd ever seen. A campsite that had been recently abandoned with some strange stuff around it.
Just so you guys can see what's up. We have here, this is the fire pit, or whatever that is.
The campsite wasn't far from the road, and he could hear the cars whizzing by. The bizarre thing was the sheer number of traps and posters of missing people around the camp, some from a decade ago.
Fucking handmade cage. It collapsed, but you can still tell what it was.
Why would someone set up a trap there, especially with what seemed like a deadly hole in the middle? And why were so many people missing in the area? We've all heard conspiracy theories about rich people gathering at private campgrounds and performing rituals. But what if someone told you there's truth to those stories because this guy managed to find one of their campgrounds?
Yeah. This is the owl statue. What the f?
He snuck into the Bohemian Grove, a private Monte Rio, California campground. This place was unlike anything he'd seen, with a big owl statue used as the site for burning effigies during rituals. But that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, that's hollow.
The creepy owl statue wasn't there for burning effigies. It was hollow and seemed to have something inside it. He knew he had to investigate, but had no idea what he was about to uncover. Haunted doll forests are all the rage these days, but while everyone's in on the joke about these places, they also tend to surprise you occasionally.
Dude, give me my camera.
These are new. These are new.
What the f? What's going on here? I don't know. Where did these dolls come from?
They'd already seen dozens of dolls in the forest, but these were different. They were not only new to the area, but they'd been burned recently. Some of them were still melting and smoking.
Look, they're all burned.
Yeah.
I've never seen these dolls here before, guys.
Oh, it smells so bad.
Yeah.
You smell that?
Yeah, it's like, guys, look at this.
They knew they weren't alone. Someone was stalking them, and whoever it was had a twisted idea of a prank. But was it someone trying to pull a fast one, or had they trespassed into the territory of an actual witch?
The actual dude.
Look at this. That's witchcraft right there. It's a pentagram. That's witchcraft right there.
The following footage comes from Utah. A camper was filming his surroundings when he captured something he didn't anticipate in his wildest dreams. But it was only when he slowed down the footage that he realized how lucky he was to escape alive. He spotted a tall, shadowy figure slowly walking through the trees. But once again, this thing wasn't human. No, this was much bigger than that. And when he zoomed in, his suspicions were proven. He'd just seen the Bigfoot. In most Sasquatch sightings, the beast is usually stalking people. But this one was different. This Bigfoot monster seemed to have no idea it was being recorded, slowly walking away from the camera. But that was the camper's cue to get out. In March 2023, a man took his 5-year-old son Hammock camping in the mountains of Alaska. But while he expected to encounter some wildlife during their trip, things got a bit too close for comfort around sunset.
Ooh, it's bright. Got the fireplace turned around so I can work on it a bit.
A strange laughing sound broke the silence of the woods outside his tent, but where most people would have thought a witch was visiting them, he knew this sound wasn't supernatural, it was a wolf.
You hear that?
Most people would have also freaked out in this situation and tried to investigate, but this man was brilliant. He knew what he was up against and didn't want to risk his son's life. In 2016, campers in Kalahari, Africa had the scariest experience of their lives when they heard growls outside their tent at about 6 a.m., but little did they know that this was only the beginning. They were camping on lion territory, and the big beast was unhappy about their presence. Its growls almost sounded like a call telling his mates to join him. The campers knew they had to rush to their car. They watched in horror as the lion circled their tent, ready to destroy everything. The only good thing was that they weren't inside anymore. But that didn't mean the lion stopped disliking their tent. In January 2025, some men ventured into one of England's most haunted forests in search of paranormal activity. But little did they know that they were about to enter a total nightmare.
Hello?
Imagine being stuck in a haunted forest alone at night and hearing a strange voice from afar. Most people would have packed their bags, but not these men. They were gonna brave it out.
Is there somebody there?
They stood their ground and kept looking around to spot the noise source. But were they being stalked by someone, or was it just the wind making these noises?
You heard that, didn't you?
Yeah.
What's that? That's like a...
Talking.
In September 2023, two friends were on a bow hunting trip in Alberta, Canada, when they heard some movement in the woods nearby. Assuming it was a bear, they set up a trail camera. What they captured, however, was something else entirely. The trail camera triggered throughout the night, but the footage looked empty. There was either a random flash of light or a strange noise, but after scrubbing through the footage, they finally found the noise source. They noticed white spots in the top left corner, almost resembling eyes. But while these looked human, the creature was much larger than a man, because as it turns out, they were being stalked by a Sasquatch. People do all sorts of wild things to hunt for paranormal activity, but spending the night at a haunted graveyard has to be one of the top choices. So when these campers headed out to one, they got what they requested.
Yeah. Did you make like a whisper?
It wasn't a growl or a flash of light. They heard whispers around them, and the source was close to them. But with no one else around, they were confident the ghosts had come out to communicate.
You can do that by speaking to us or making a noise around us. Light's gone off.
This was just the beginning of their night, though, because after spending another hour in the graveyard seeing strange things, they hit the highlight of their adventure, which was also their cue to get out.
Holy sh**. Somebody walking.
In July 2013, a Georgia man went through a harrowing experience after he witnessed something big emerge from the woods near Blue Ridge and attack his dog. This is the footage he captured after that incident.
Get in the house! Get in the house!
He was determined to follow the beast into the woods and not let it get away with the attack. But there was a problem. The thing he chased wasn't an animal or man. It was the Bigfoot. With emotions running high, the man knew this was his best chance of getting close to the mythical beast, and he wouldn't let anything stop him from proving everyone who doubted his claims wrong. In May 2024, caravan campers visited the lush Greenlands to reconnect with nature. While most of their trip was pleasant, something happened during one of the nights that completely reshaped their reality. It turns out the Greenlands weren't just home to birds and critters. They were visited at night by a massive bear. And luckily, they caught everything on their trail cam. The couple were terrified of a bear snooping around their caravan. They couldn't believe how lucky they were not to encounter the beast during the daytime. One thing was clear, though. They never returned to this place again. Not everyone leaves a place forever after a terrifying experience. These adventurers, for instance, decided it'd be a good idea to return to the haunted woods to experience the thrill for a second time. Except that this time, things were worse.
Holy dude, is there somebody by your truck? Yeah, look at it.
Bro, look at my truck.
They were walking in front of their truck with plenty of light, yet the horrors didn't stop. Out of nowhere, they heard a loud noise that startled them. But again, this was only the beginning.
Bro, my truck is moving. What the f***?
Is that what it park?
They were constantly getting messages in their spirit box, and their truck was also moving. They had only one option: sprint back to the truck and catch whatever bothered them.
What that? My truck was f***ing moving.
I caught it on camera, dude. It was moving.
It just said I'm watching you. Bro, hold on. What the f***? You guys are on camera?
In January 2025, a man decided to camp alone in a haunted forest. But before he could begin his terrifying adventure, something interrupted his intro monologue and kicked the night off with a bang.
Yeah. What the hell was that? Somebody out there?
He heard a strange howl, Nothing could be seen from a distance. The real question was, did a wolf come near his camp and stalk him, or was someone playing a prank on him?
Something's whistling.
In 2006, some men in Catalonia wandered into a forest at night to look for the strange creatures they'd heard stories about. But while they expected to hear your run-of-the-mill noises, they didn't think they'd stumble upon one of the creatures. In one of the most hair-raising videos ever recorded, the men walked up to a white figure squatting on the ground. It looked like a man who hadn't eaten for months, but they soon realized this was no man. They'd found the mysterious creature known as the Rake. In 2023, a Filipino man had the bright idea to spend a night solo camping in a cemetery. However, even though most of his day went smoothly, the air around him changed when the sun went down.
Creepy. Uy, may tik-tik. Dami ko naririnig pag...
He was talking to the camera in pitch dark, not knowing what was around him, but his camera captured everything, even what he didn't see, strange, shadowy figures walking through the frame.
Hello po. Grabe, ang dilim.
Was he in the presence of ghosts, or was something else walking in front of his camera? In June 2021, some men decided to go ghost hunting in one of the most haunted forests in England. What they encountered there was nothing short of terrifying.
Did you hear the footsteps though? So we've got to be on guard because...
The night started with them hearing random footsteps around them, except they were the only people in the area. But this was only the beginning, and the situation was about to get much worse.
There's Tom. He said there's Tom. Yeah.
They had the equipment to speak to the spirits around them, but they only got warnings. The paranormal entities didn't want them there, and they made it clear through the radio.
We have to go over to the tree, the big tree.
Kay's Cross in Utah is notorious for harboring scary, supernatural entities, but that's not enough to stop people from wandering in these woods. If anything, people go there to seek these spirits, much like these folks.
Music box, dude. Music box.
They had no idea what they were walking into when they made their plans, but now that they were here, alone in the middle of the night, things were getting scary. The music box playing was only the beginning of this nightmare.
Okay, so, oh my god, dude, I have chills actually immediately, man. Okay, so if that is you...
They were in the presence of a spirit trying to communicate with them, but they had no idea how to establish a connection. What happened next, however, was their cue to get out.
What are the lights? What are the lights, dude? What are the lights? Oh my god! Holy shit, man! How is that possible?
Much like Kay's Cross, Cannock Chase in the UK is also known for its haunted activity thanks to the hospital site built after the First World War. So when these folks decided to spend the night there, they were in for a bone-chilling adventure.
Where the dolls were?
There's your 3 candles, unless they're... And then they're attached sort of...
Oh, there.
That one.
The forest is known for creepy dolls hanging on the trees, but something was amiss. The dolls were no longer present, and candles were on the floor. Did someone prank them, or did something happen to the dolls?
Go. We've got one doll, people.
Got good eyes, AI.
So's the baby doll, bloody hell.
The blue-eyed baby.
Better than the black.
After searching the area, they stumbled upon one doll unlike the others. The closer they inspected it, the more disturbing it became.
A child hanging. That's what it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, look, yeah. It's got a rod around its neck.
Oh, that one. That's a bit gruesome.
In 2017, a man was camping out in the woods talking to his camera when he noticed something strange on the ledge behind him. It didn't look like an animal or human. It was something else, so he decided to stay still and catch it on camera.
Huh. He was just there. Ah, you see? That was a quick glimpse there.
The thing was peeking over the ledge, but it was tiny and hard to capture. The man was sure he'd just encountered a real-life pixie. But he also knew he needed more convincing evidence than that. And guess what? He got it.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Let's... there. Ah, well...
Hearing critters and birds in the woods is normal, but you know something strange happens when all the animals suddenly go silent. And that's precisely what this man experienced on his camping trip.
If anyone knows what the sound is, let me know in the comments.
Most people would have bailed or hid after that experience, but not this man. He would brave it out and see what was making the strange noise around him. He walked around the forest in pitch dark, yet the source of the strange noise was nowhere to be seen. Was it just a bird, or was he being stalked by something else? In 2023, a man took his son to a remote, uninhabited island in Alaska to look for a lost World War II Army base used to protect the state from Japanese invasion. What they found there, however, was astonishing.
Watch out. Oh, there's booby traps here. Yeah, here's another.
The base that looked like it had been untouched for decades was an entire corridor with random drops in the middle. But these folks weren't there for a tour. They would camp inside it. Staying inside an abandoned army base in the middle of nowhere is not a good idea, but thankfully, they knew they had to get out of there before nightfall.
Oh, look at this. I actually got a little bit of a view.
The following footage comes from the Appalachian Mountains, where a camper stumbled upon an abandoned fire tower deep in the woods.
Prone to fires, but let's go up here and test it out. I could already see right there the stairs.
Walking up the dingy stairs with the wind blowing was risky, but the man was determined to discover whatever was at the top.
It's not too bad in here, it's covered.
But once again, he wasn't just going to take a peek and head out. He would take things to the extreme and sleep at the top of the tower, except that things weren't as safe as he thought.
Walking and hiking. Holy crap.
In 2020, a man was camping in the woods in Montana when he encountered a bear. Of course, he wasn't just going to stay there and risk his life, so he ran for it. The following footage shows the aftermath of his encounter.
Holy shit. My tent is gone. You gotta see this.
When he returned to his camp, everything was gone. His tent was nowhere to be seen, and neither was the bear. But that wasn't enough proof for him. He had to find out what had happened to his stuff, and that's when he finally found it.
Look at this.
The Blair Witch Forest may have been the site for an acclaimed movie, but that doesn't mean it doesn't harbor paranormal elements. When these folks visited the area, they regretted every second of it.
I literally see it in front of me. All right, come on, let's go back, dude. This was the worst idea that Elton has ever had.
The whole time, they kept hearing strange sounds and seeing eyes peeking back at them through the trees. They knew they were being watched and had to get out.
Yo, it's actually walking towards us. There's something coming towards us. We might need to go back to the car.